Today, the objective of the seminar is to address another main topic, which is digital gender violence, which unfortunately is increasing, and we have to take and adopt measures. We need to implement actions, and we need to improve processes and find solutions. We have high-level speakers who will address online crimes, how to advance in terms of protection of these problems, against these problems. Some of them are international speakers, the same as yesterday. We have Dafne Sabanes Plou. She is a feminist and social communicator, and she is working on a gender perspective. She works in the Women's Rights Program, supporting or as a regional coordinator of the support program to Women Network. She will tell us a little bit more about this association, her work here, and the importance of finding solutions. Welcome, Dafne, and whenever you want, you have the floor. Good morning, and thank you for having invited me to share with you a research work. We, in the Women program of APC, we designed this program and implemented the program between 2000 and 2010, 2015. The results, you can have a look at them on our website. And we also have there some of the results translated into Spanish. So I think it is important to share this work with you and also have a look at what is happening with women in this scenario. As you know, violence against women linked to the use of technologies, it is part of the everyday experience of many women. So this is not surprising. We are not taken aback by this. Here we have different online violence forms. It has to do with cyber mobbing, harassment, online aggressions, manipulation of images, violations to privacy, and also sexual harassment that puts in danger safety of women and girls. In this research project included 7 countries in different regions worldwide, because we wanted to identify the trends or identify some patterns to see whether we could compare. So we were in Philippines, Pakistan, Mexico, Colombia, Kenya, Congo Democratic Republic, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. We included a collection of cases of violence against women. We also did some mapping, a virtual mapping using a free software platform. We also organized empowerment workshops on online security. And then we carried out some social research on the consequences of this type of violence for women and access to justice. And we also worked on the impact in public policies. One of the main problems we wanted to tackle was precisely that one, access to justice when you are suffering from violence, gender violence. Here you have the map where we located the different cases. We got to have 630 cases identified, and here you have the list of the different types of violence we identified. On the one hand, continuation and worsening of domestic violence. The man who is violent at home in the household is still violent online through chats, internet, etc., etc. Sexual harassment, publication and dissemination of pictures and intimate videos, emotional mobbing and economic mobbing as well, observance, surveillance, follow-up, control by means of electronic devices. Also even filming violations, and the misogynic discourse, which is translated into a hatred discourse, in order to bring down the prestige of women or to try to get them away from the spaces traditionally regarded as male spaces. We have an example, a Gamergate case, where especially they were mobbing women who were producers and creators of video games. And they, well, thought they were negative competition, a hostile competition, and they were also suffering mobbing for a long time. Out of the 644 cases we could map, we see that the main damage or injury is emotional and psychological, then reputation of women, and then physical and sexual damage or injuries, because obviously there is sometimes physical contact and even resulting in suicides. In the case of teenagers, some girls even committed suicide. Who is committing these crimes? Somebody known, 40%, someone unknown, people we do not know, and sometimes even a group of people. They get together, 2, 3, 4 people. So groupal aggression, what we know as trolls. These mythical characters that online they commit these kind of crimes in groups. And then the platform used social media, especially Facebook. Now we also have WhatsApp, for example, cell phones, 20%, but always through social media, through chats and websites. What they do is that sometimes they create a specific websites to upload pictures or videos without confirmed consent, of course. Just for the sake of aggression, really. We can see that the women that are suffering, we have identified 3 main categories. First, women in intimate relationships with a violent partner. The violent partner will continue being violent through the social media, online, etc., devices, cell phones, whatever. Then we have professional women with a public profile who participate in communication spaces with her own opinion defending rights. These are also the advocates of rights. They are very much subject to mobbing. And when we refer to professional women, we talk about journalists, social communicators, politicians, female politicians, and also those who work in a national level, but also those that work in a local level. So people, women who are involved in local policies suffer a lot of mobbing, online mobbing. And then women who have survived that physical or sexual violence. And those criminals record and disseminate the facts online and continue doing mobbing, no? Once the images have been uploaded, it is very difficult to remove them, as you know. The main consequences is, well, they damage reputation, harm reputation, destruction of self-esteem, psychological and emotional suffering, and everything that has to do with psychological suffering, panic attacks. Then an economic matter, no, a topic that has a very important burden. The woman has to move to another city, loses the job, has to change the school, employment, university, or when the intimate images are disseminated, many times they even lose customers, they have to leave that place. The professional career is also impacting negatively. Marriage sometimes is broken. Sometimes it has happened that there were cases of boyfriends we had like 10 years ago, and all of a sudden they publish pictures that are 10-year-old pictures, and the woman now has a new life, is married, whatever. and of course despair, depression, and suicide attempts. Many women have told us many stories that at some point they even thought about committing suicide. The gender divide. Okay, we could see that as well as our research, we wanted to follow up other documents that were being drawn. One of them that we thought was very interesting was the one by the Telecommunication International Union. They have a commission that is called Commission of the with Band for Development, and they thought in this document, they translated it, that part of this violence could be regarded in some cultures as a transgression of those gender norms, increase in vulnerability of women. And patriarchal groups or misogynic groups use internet to subordinate women, criticize them, and create certain fear. So accessing internet, accessing a cell phone gives you possibility of a certain freedom to have access to information you could not access otherwise. And we see this in very closed cultures or communities. And then the result of it all is that the control a community could have on women or family, above all men, in certain cultures, make that women feel vulnerable because they are controlling what the woman is doing with the device, etc., etc. Even in Pakistan, we identify some Ana crimes. You know that these crimes are committed by a male because the woman is honoring the name of the family. So extreme situations, but in certain cultures happen. In this case, the woman ruining the name of the family, as I say, the surname of the family. In 2015, when the situation was analyzed, they reached at this forum, the Forum of Best Practices that was held at the Forum on Governance in Internet in 2015. They reached the following conclusion. The events of abuse and gender violence online have its origins in historical inequality of relationships of power between men and women. It is very important to identify this question of power relationships. However, women also struggle and they fight for their rights and they resist. So we are starting to see that there are a few women who just cross their arms and say, well, they are violating me, or they are aggravating, and I will do nothing. Now, women organizations react because they see their freedom of speech and opinion threatened. This is very important, the freedom of speech. We talked to Walter Ru from Guatemala, and now we have also Dedicate from USA. And these two persons, well, we met with them many times, and we could meet with them and talk about this freedom of speech, and the importance of it. They also see a threat regarding the possibility of associating with others or being active in some movement, They cannot discuss with freedom in terms of the concerns, especially sexual rights or reproductive rights. Sometimes their comments are even controlled. There is, for example, in my country, equalitarian movement and many movements, in many countries. And in some countries this will not happen, but in other countries the people do not have freedom of speech, of course. And also women see a threat to their privacy and intimacy. Several campaigns came about in different countries, and I think it is interesting just to have a look at them. One of them is this campaign in Colombia by Foundation Charisma that is called Machitroll Alert. When the trolls attack and things get very, very boring, they call us feminazi. I don't know if you know it. This term became a fad. And as a counterpart, they coined this term, machitroll, that is a chauvinist troll threatening women. This campaign is highly interesting because it is very powerful, trying to block chauvinist discourse, and also throughout the campaign is trying to look for understanding and dialogue, trying to promote the sharing of opinions, respecting others' opinions. This is another campaign called Let's Master Technology. It was created by APC. It's already 10 years old. We started with this campaign in 2006. The networks were not there yet. And we were working on mastering technology to try to fight against gender violence. Another campaign, a Mexican campaign, that is called If They Kill Me. What will they say about me if they kill me? She was a lesbian. I put a lot of makeup. I was wearing a mini skirt. I was living alone. I used to go out at night, etc., etc. This is very interesting. What happens with the female teenagers who are killed, above all in the case of teenagers, girls, who, because people start to see or to find the picture on Facebook, and many times they are presented as the bad girl. That happened to her because she had dropped out of school, because she used to go out alone at night, because she used to go dancing, because she came back home late. So there is a stigma, so they deserve it, so to speak. So in this campaign, they make this analysis. If they kill me, what is the picture they will publish? They will publish the picture in my school uniform, on the picture when I put some makeup on and I am with my friends laughing. How are they going to use my image? What image is the media going to use? And the result of it all. This is an Argentinian campaign called Not One Less. It started with this hashtag. It has to do with the protest against genocides, with a very high rate in my country. A woman killed every 20 hours, which is incredible. But they have used social media to fight against this killings. On my way home, I want to be free, not brave. Yes, in internet we want to be free, not brave. And this freedom will be reached, for sure. That is what. And on the basis of security. That's why the topic of this Congress is so interesting. And then here, a feminist internet. An internet in which women can express freely. After a lot of discussion, we held meetings with Facebook, with the management of Facebook, and last year in 2016 decided to work on the policies, because as you know, as Facebook as a platform can have its own policies. It is kind of private, so they established their own policies. So after a lot of pressure, they worked on a policy against the porno vengeance, revenge, so to speak. These private platforms have their own conditions and guidelines and publishing lines to identify contents and follow up contents and to see what they have to remove. Twitter already has its own policy to withdraw contents without any previous discussion, although many people say that Twitter is very violent. Some weeks ago, Facebook general policies were filtered to edit and withdraw contents. The question is, who establishes a discourse online? In my country, 70% of population online have a Facebook account. So we wonder up to what extent our discourse is controlled, monitored by private subjects now who decide on what to publish. Some positive steps given by the companies in internet. They accepted the dialogue to try to find solutions to fight against violence, hatred language, racism, discrimination. They simplified the filing of complaints, and they have professional groups. They work with professional groups and experts in with regard to violence against women. Facebook is in USA, right? So sometimes it is very difficult to identify the cultural traits now of different cases. For example, in African countries, Muslim countries, Latin America. So they've had to set up specific expert groups, not task forces. Our concern is access to justice. In 49% of the mapped cases, admit to have filed a complaint before the police or the court, no? But out of all of them, hardly a 41% really the complaint was processed or the case followed up. Some countries have started to consider some legislative measures to stop dissemination without consent of images or intimate videos. Israel was the first one in prohibiting, and in the United States there are 34 states that are or have legislated punishing this type of violence against women. In some cases, people are put behind bars or they have to pay fine or whatever. One of the things that Facebook has done is that the company, is the one withdrawing the material, because the victim is the one who, on top of everything that is happening to her, has to see how to withdraw the material. So I think Facebook has done something good, no? They are the ones responsible for withdrawing the material. Main barriers. Well, you perceive that violence online is not real and therefore less harmful. It is believed that online violence is a new way of violence that has nothing to do with other gender violence forms. And then the culture of impunity that prevents you from claiming repair. Trends in terms of new legislation. There is legislation against mobbing or electronic harassment, legislation against the use or dissemination without consent of images or intimate videos online or through apps, cellular devices or social media, legislation against the dissemination of personal data or sensitive data of a person without consent, and then legislation against the capture of minors with sexual aims by means of electronic devices. A little bit the trends in Argentina, the situation in Argentina, what is happening, and to what extent this gender violence online can be regarded as a discrimination form, hatred discourse, and non-consented pornography. And the state should ensure fast and easy access to justice by victims adopting appropriate and fast processing mechanisms. The state has a duty, by means of international treaties, to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women, including sexist violence. Here we have the different documents, resolution of the Commission on the legal and social condition of women, the consensus of Santo Domingo, and there are advances in the Human Rights Commission of the UNO and the Commission against all type of discrimination against women, also belonging to the UNO. They are working. APC is present here in this task force, but also many other entities that are trying to find solutions. Some recommendations: to acknowledge the forms of violence against women by means of technologies, include them in the monitoring mechanisms, prevention and response in public policies, and laws against gender violence, to gather evidence, including information on violence against women. The use of technology in official reports is something we are demanding in Argentina, to work with the police and other legal departments to draw mechanisms of prevention and response against before violence against gender and use technologies. Also, we have to design and create the capacities in the legal systems to give response to survivors, and we have to create protocols to be implemented in the framework of the legal framework. For example, many countries have signed the CEDAW protocols and conventions, and this means that all our countries should implement these measures, these norms, to prevent and eliminate violence and harassment against women in all scenarios, also online. And then we have to work with intermediaries to give response to the claims and to build up secure space online. That is the work that has been done so far, and we have given safe steps, but I can tell you and add that activists for human rights, female human rights, for example, decided to have a minimum activities online, just the minimum level necessary, everything very professional, stop participating in fora, discussions online to avoid mobbing. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and I think these are topics to be taken into account to see how we can continue working on cybersecurity to improve security online. Although we think that man, woman uses social media, needs to know how to look after himself or herself, we think the environment should also adopt the necessary measures to promote protection. We cannot leave protection in the hands of users. And those discourses such as the, well, you were using a miniskirt, you put a lot of makeup, you used to go out at night, kind of a bad girl, those discourses cannot be allowed or permitted, because it very much depends on each of us, no, what we want to do. And this should not happen. And we should also be free to express our opinion without any kind of aggression. Thank you.